Business deals between the Commerce Secretary of the United States and the son-in-law of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The underpriced sale of mining rights in the Democratic Republic of Congo by the country's president and his friend, the Israeli billionaire Dan Gertler. And investments in Twitter and Facebook by US-sanctioned companies like Gazprom and VTB that are owned by the Russian government. These are just some of the revelations in the Paradise Papers, a huge trove of financial documents made public by an international consortium of journalists. And it's heaping pressure on the United States and the European Union to do more to stop the illicit flow of money.
We believe this is an opportunity for the EU to show leadership on fighting tax avoidance and tax dodging in general. It's a unique change, but we are a bit afraid that this exercise could be transformed into a whitewash of well-known tax havens.
The Paradise Papers include information on 680,000 entities set up in 55 jurisdictions that purposely make laws that help non-residents stash cash in places like the Bahamas, St. Kitts, and Malta. The documents reveal how some of the world's biggest companies like Nike and Apple use shell companies to avoid taxes, and how others like the global leader in commodity trade, Glencore, pay less than fair prices to get control of precious raw materials in poor countries. The stakes of the investigation couldn't be higher, and a Maltese journalist reporting on her government's crimes has already paid the ultimate price. Daphne Galizia was killed in a car bomb attack in October. Police are still investigating the crime, but many are skeptical whether the authorities will chase down the perpetrators.
We condemn this, of course, in the strongest terms, and we are asking for an international and independent inquiry in this crime, because we don't think that the Maltese government is impartial and independent and competent enough to do so.
Not all deals laid bare by the consortium of journalists are illegal. For example, there's no legal bar on the Queen of England investing in offshore funds, and there's no law that says Britain's Conservative Party member Lord Ashcroft cannot keep millions of dollars in offshore accounts to avoid paying taxes. But the Paradise Papers have ignited a debate over the ethical and moral obligation of the world's wealthiest people and companies to pay their fair share. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
For more on this, I'm joined by Tommaso Faccio. He's the international tax expert at Nottingham University Business School in the UK. Tommaso, great to have you on Money Talks once again. Look, since the release of the Paradise Papers, the Panama Papers before them, LuxLeaks, have you seen regulators starting to get tough on tax avoidance?
These tax leaks have been picked up by the public, which then has forced the governments to react. So the G20 has mandated the OECD to come up with new tax rules and new tools that will help tax authorities going forward. A number of these tax tools are focused on tax transparency. So, for example, automatic exchange of information between tax authorities, and also in relation to multinationals, country-by-country reporting that shows where multinationals operate and where they shift their profits.
Tommaso, do you think that revelations like these actually help to reduce inequalities? Or do you think they're just merely fanning the flames of populism?
I think they do help. Ultimately, the tax leaks have fueled the debate, which has then forced governments to act. So the tax authorities now have better tools and better measures to tackle this problem. Had they not been for the tax leaks and the media picking up on these leaks and then the public forcing politicians to act, I don't think we would have not achieved what has been changed over the last 3-4 years.
There were many corporate scandals in 2017. Out of those, which ones in particular stood out for you?
I think the Apple case, so the EU taking Apple to court over state aid, around, to force Apple to repay 13 billion euros, because this really shows the geopolitical forces at play. You have the EU, the US, where Apple is headquartered, and then Ireland, a country within the EU, which has given away some what look like favorable tax arrangements, but still, once the EU forced Ireland, said that to Apple that they should pay this money back, Ireland was still reluctant to receive this money back. And this shows kind of where the tax competition is at the moment, which is countries competing against each other, and the only winners are the multinationals.
Well, let's talk about Apple's home base, the US. The US government has cut taxes by the most in about 30 years this year. And part of the reason for that Donald Trump says, is to encourage companies like Apple to repatriate some of those billions of dollars back home. Do you think that those tax cuts are going to succeed in getting companies like Apple to do that?
I think is an interesting question. The money that is held offshore, that's been currently taxed at 0%. So the repatriation tax holiday rate is 10%. So it is possible that some will be repatriated. But in 2004, when the last tax holiday took place, the tax rate for the repatriation was around 5%. So here, the incentive is less than it would have been during the previous tax holiday.
Right.
At the same time, it's not proven that this money, when it's brought back, is mostly used to purchase own shares rather than generate new jobs.
That's going to be very interesting to watch. Tommaso Faccio, Nottingham University in the UK, thank you very much indeed.